Hello everyone, how's it going? Now, you have to be very aware that OCD can trick you back into doing compulsions very quickly, in a matter of milliseconds actually, because I just got the phone with somebody who has been doing excellently well. They're probably watching this video, who has been doing excellently well with cutting compulsions, really good. And in those 10 sort of 14 days with just sort of consistent compulsion cutting, yes, the anxiety symptoms increase, but they could really see, wow, like this is great. I've been doing this my whole life and now I'm finally cutting. I can see that it's an illusion. But what OCD will do, it will find a way in. Okay, so you've got to be very aware of how it's going to do that. So let's say, for example, your main fear is sort of causing harm to someone. Okay, whether that's POCD, harm OCD, whatever it may be. Okay, any sort of taboo related theme. So let's say you're doing really well with and you've brought down the internal checking, whether that's in your periphery, checking compulsions such as, oh, what am I looking there? My eyes going here. What are my intentions? Did I deliberately look this way? Okay, maybe there's a bit of avoidance going on. So if you've cut that, great. But then what it will do, it can suddenly move to a completely different theme. Let's say it suddenly latches to some safety, okay, where you may be responsible for somebody getting ill or for harming somebody, indirectly harming somebody. So let's say, for example, checking the plugs, checking the switch, for example, checking the oven. You think, oh shit, if I didn't leave that oven on, if I left the oven on, then the house is going to burn down, the whole place is going to burn down, and I'm going to be responsible for everybody dying, getting harmed, whatever. Okay? Now, in that moment, it's going to suddenly feel like, this isn't a compulsion, this is genuine, this is real. Okay, I need to check this over and over again. Let me just check this. Let me just film this to make sure I turn the oven off. Let me just film this to make sure I did this totally correctly and fix this thing, meaning that the worst case can't happen. Now, in that moment, and I had this myself, if you told me, hey Sam, this is a compulsion, I'd be like, well, no, this one's different because this isn't my usual theme. This isn't my usual compulsions because this one's different, right? So I'll be so set, be wary. Us OCD sufferers, when we're stuck, we're like addicts, okay? We're chasing certainty. We're determined to get that relief. We're possessed, if you wish, to get some kind of relief, to get some kind of answer, okay? So I couldn't have been stopped. I couldn't have been stopped checking over and over again because this one felt different. I needed certainty. I was chasing. I had to get it. Okay? And the problem with that, because you're doing that to get relief, OCD is coming through the back door, if you wish. So you shut the door on your usual compulsions, the main compulsions that has been fueling your suffering with your main particular themes, such as harm OCD, POCD, whatever. So you've been doing really well with that. And then what it's suddenly done, it's found something else and it's got him through the back door. Now, as it gets him through the back door, it opens up the front door for the other compulsions to start coming back in. That's what it does. It's very subtle. It's the best con artist of all time. Because after, you're going to feel like you've been completely conned, like you've been scammed. You're like, what the hell? I've been doing so well, and now I gave into this one compulsion. I didn't even know it was a compulsion, and now I'm back doing my previous compulsions because when you're doing one compulsion or one large compulsion, it can feel like any more discomfort. I can't deal with that. That's just too scary. I have to go back to my compulsions again. I just can't deal with any more discomfort. I can't deal with any kind of cutting compulsions or raising anxiety. Can't deal with that. And you go back down the compulsive cycle again. Be very wary of OCD coming in through the back door. Okay, that's what it's going to do. And it will do that by switching themes, morphing, moving the boundaries, moving the goalposts. It's going to change, it's going to switch. It finds very subtle ways to get in there. Okay, and that's what it's going to do. Okay, it did it with me many times. I felt like I got certainty on one thing. I was doing really well, cutting compulsions on one thing. I had the illusion that I had certainty, and then boom, switched up and back down the rabbit hole I went. And as I'm going down that rabbit hole, I'm then opening the door for further compulsions, ones that I'd already previously cut out. Okay, and it's going to do that. Okay, so just be very aware of how it can operate and how it can sort of pour you back in very quickly. This can be a matter of seconds, by the way. You can be triggered like that, boom, and then open the door. Now, I'm not fussed how you're doing whilst, when things are going well, if you're going into compulsions, because when things are going well, the likelihood of you doing compulsions is obviously very low. Still, obviously, a chance, yes, because you have OCD, you have obsessive compulsive disorder. But what I'm focused on is when you're triggered, right? When things aren't going so well. When you're going through a real rough time, when you're going through a real big struggle, that's what I'm focused on, because it's so easy to then say, no, this is too difficult. I'm going to have to do this compulsion. And then door wide open for flood the compulsions, and usually in comes a big setback. Okay, when I was a long time into my journey, but let's say I'd been in for 2 years, 3 years, sort of 18 months, 2 years mainly, when I was really making good strides, what I would tend to do, I'd then sort of slip up on a big compulsion. Maybe I started avoiding again. Maybe I started engaging in unhealthy addictive behaviours again. Maybe I just sort of slipped up with the venting, very subtle venting, maybe the odd confession here and there, just to get that relief off my chest. It could be very subtle, remember. Sometimes it felt like I wasn't even venting. Looking back now, yeah, I was venting because I was doing it for relief. I was doing it to escape discomfort, to get rid of some kind of feeling, and to ultimately achieve certainty on something. Maybe I was Googling, oh, you know what, I'm just going to Google this because, yeah, it's not OCD. And you're realising, yeah, I'm only doing that for some kind of relief. Avoidance was the biggest one for me. I slipped back into avoidance many times because I got scared. With fear, I got scared of going back to the suffering. I then avoided things that triggered me. Okay, so I've been doing excellently well. I built so much momentum with cutting out the avoidance and doing things regardless and putting myself in situations where I'm going to be triggered, doing exposures, cutting compulsions. And then let's say I wake up, maybe I haven't had the best night's sleep. I wake up slightly more anxious. I go, oh, I'm feeling quite anxious right now. I can't possibly face any more exposures, can't take any more risks. And then here come the compulsions again, seeping back in. And before you know it, you're doing full-blown compulsions and you're back in the cycle. Okay, now you have to be aware that you're dealing with such a relentless, challenging, difficult mental health disorder. Okay, it's incredibly difficult. Now, I see myself, I'm recovered, and I see myself as living in sobriety from OCD. But I have to be very aware that I could slip back into doing compulsions, very aware. I have to be very aware of my thinking. If I go back to my old, rigid, black and white way of thinking, then of course it could start coming back. And sort of the sort of unhealthy negative emotions of chronic guilt and chronic shame and chronic panic, because that stems from how I view things. That stems from my perception on things, right? Because I've shifted that over time, the unhealthy feelings start coming down and not as severe, and they start changing to more healthy negative emotions such as just frustration, regret, healthy remorse, concern, sadness, disappointment, whatever, instead of the chronic guilt and depression and the rage and what I was suffering with when I was stuck with OCD. So you have to be aware, right? That's not to say like a drill sergeant where as soon as you slip up, you're beating yourself up going, you stupid idiot, you stupid twat. No, that isn't going to help. That isn't going to solve anything, right? But tough love is very critical. It's important because if you just let yourself off the hook all the time, going, oh, yeah, you know what, don't worry about it. Yes, I slipped up again, it's fine, don't worry about it. Well, yes, you get back on your bike, you carry on going, but that's too lackadaisical, that's too wishy-washy, that's too soft, because you're just going to let yourself all the time. You're trying to overcome a mental health disorder that's incredibly relentless. You're going to have to be so strict and so disciplined, okay? Yes, compassion is key, but not just let yourself off at all times, because then you'll be letting yourself off all the time and you won't have any urgency to cut compulsions, okay? Because when you're cutting compulsions initially, it's going to feel life and death. You're going to feel so confused. You're going to feel so lost. You feel like, well, I can't get myself out of this situation. What's the point? I'll go back to doing compulsions because that's safer. That's more comfortable. You know, don't worry about cutting compulsions. Okay, you carry on, but then you're going to remain stuck, because look why you're watching this video today. It's because you're in a compulsive cycle. You keep doing compulsions, and then whenever you feel stuck, you then do a compulsion to get rid of that feeling. If that worked, you would not be listening to me blabber on today. You would not be listening on this video going, who's this guy with an OCD top from the UK? You would not be listening to me, right? So in order to change, you've got to really go through that discomfort, but you've got to be aware that as you are cutting these compulsions, it's going to try and pull you back in. Anybody who has the expectation that as soon as they cut one compulsion, that's it, they're in the clear, you've got another thing coming, I'm afraid, because OCD is going to ramp up even more. It's going to find ways to get in. Okay, the analogy is if you're trying to shut it out, you've got the door shut. No, you're not coming in, OCD. You're not coming in today. I'm not doing compulsions. You're not coming in today. And then, oh shit, it's found another way. Come in the back door, it comes in, it opens the front door, and here it comes again, doing compulsions all day long. And it can do that very, very subtly, okay? So, and it also links into how we sort of measure progress. Now, we don't measure progress on how you feel, right? Because progress on how you feel would just be up and down. It'd be, yeah, I'm feeling good, feeling shit, feeling good, feeling neutral. Yeah, feeling okay, feeling good, feeling shit. It wouldn't really work, okay? Long run, of course, we judge on how we feel, like based in 5 years, 10 years, of course, because ultimately to recover, the feelings are going to change as well, obviously, right? But in the short run, you can't do that. In the short run, for progress, I ask, what compulsions are you doing? And what compulsions are you still engaging with? Are you still avoiding things? Are you still doing things for relief, such as seeking reassurance, confessing, venting, complaining, Googling all the time, sort of the mental trying to work things out, the replaying, the scanning, the sort of trying to find evidence in your brain? Are you still doing that? Are you still avoiding? And ultimately, how are your perspectives looking? How are you viewing the worst case scenario? How are you viewing this? How are your perception on the core fears looking? Could you accept yourself unconditionally? And so on. Okay, and that in the long run starts bringing, long-term peace and brings down how we feel to a more healthier level, and also life structure as well. Are you avoiding everything? Are you getting out of bed? Are you going to work? Are you getting absorbed by some kind of interest? Are you socializing? Are you still dating? Are you still getting involved in things, or are you putting everything off? And of course, we've got to improve that structure as well. So I think it's very important to cover this topic, because if you're going in with the mindset that as soon as you cut one compulsion, that's it, you're in the clear, I wish you the best of luck. So keep persisting, okay? Be consistent, but just know, okay? Please know that as you start cutting compulsions, OCD is going to try and pull you back in. It's going to try and grip you in. And it doesn't usually do it by the same way it's got you in the past. It's going to switch up. It's going to morph to think, now this one's real. This one's different. This one's the exception. Therefore, I need to work this one out. I need to seek reassurance on this one. I need to Google this one. I need to check this one. It's going to do that, okay? That's how it pulls you back in. It's very crafty. It's very subtle. It's very cheeky. And it's very sneaky in the way that it works, okay? If you're finding it very difficult to stay out of the compulsive cycle, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. I'm Sam, you've got Rob, you've got Nick, you've got Mom, and you've got Gemma, who do coaching calls here. We all have OCD ourselves. We've all been through OCD. We've all recovered from OCD. Now we're helping guide you through that, so we know this compulsive cycle very well, and how it grips you back in, how within seconds you're suddenly pulled back into the whirlwind of OCD, if you wish, okay? So we've been there, all right? Please email phil@ocdrecovery.com to get in touch. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Bye-bye.